Hi there, my name's Chris Weaver and I'm going to talk about my entry for this year's Great Guitar Build-Off 2022. But first let's talk about myself and my designs and my approach to the design and building of the guitars. Last year's entry, which I've nicknamed the Lancaster, was my first attempt at building a guitar. And as such, I limited myself just to the body design and build, and bought in a neck which I fashioned. This is what it looks like now. I took this approach because as my first build I didn't want to spend a lot of money on quality wood and ruin it in my ineptitude and inexperience. And equally, there are designs out there and guitar builders who build fabulous guitars, and it would be very difficult for me to compete with them. So I took a slightly different approach to the build and the design of the guitar especially. Being an artist, I just thought it'd be nice to incorporate a piece of artwork into the guitar to make it a bit more singular. And I chose the design I did so that the pickup covers would be part of the painting, and the bridge and the sort of control guard would equally be clear acrylic. Because again, there are some beautiful guitars out there, but I find personally that the metalwork that's used can somewhat distract and take away from the beauty of the wood and the overall effect. I much prefer designs where it is more, they work in conjunction. The design of the use of the wood, the design of the guitar, and all the components come together more as a singular unit. So I, rather than use metal bridge, I innovated using acrylic and used the sort of pickup small bridges with small acrylic squares with risers in it, so you could adjust the height of the guitar and you can slide the little acrylic bricks forward and backwards, so it acts very much like a proper bridge, but has the advantage of not needing earthing and not interfering with the design underneath. So it doesn't take away from it at all, but it still remains functional. I'd never done a neck, so I said I bought the neck in, but the head of the neck, as you can see the picture here, was a very sort of big flat board, but I again incorporated the design into it. Never having done anything like this before, it was quite ambitious, but I knew it was the right approach, so that it would be consistent with the design and overall, the overall design of the guitar. I then built another guitar which was a full build. That was just for my own sort of challenge and own sort of development, and that was more of a cubist design. Again, the body and the neck were all done by myself or from blocks of wood. I chose a sort of Gibson style shape style body, but again did everything so that it was all again singular in a design. So the neck is sort of stained on the back, it's got the inserts on the top, and the guitar head has again a very singular design. The body, as you can see, front and back were very sort of graphic and sort of painted to bright colours and design, and again it was not only the challenge to expand my expertise or to challenge myself and get some experience at building full guitars, it was also again to have a singular cohesive design in the whole piece. This is entry. Again, is an escalation in the complexity and the stages of the build. I wanted to include some purfling and sort of more intricate inlays, but I also thought it would be interesting to build a semi-acoustic guitar. The two previous builds have been obviously full solid-bodied electrics, but I thought I'd go for a semi-acoustic. Again, haven't done anything like this before. I was sort of quite interested in how to approach it. I thought I'd go for a solid body and then sort of carve it out. Main reasons for that was I had some wood available that I could do that from, and I didn't yet have the experience or nerve to sort of start bending wood. So using flat sides was helpful in the design and my capabilities, and when I was looking at designs and sort of themes, I thought the Art Deco would be a very interesting approach, and it was consistent with what I was technically able to do, and very sort of consistent with the challenges. So the overall design, I did a lot of sort of research into the various sort of aspects of Art Deco and incorporated as many as I could as appropriate into the final design and build. I also learnt to do the whole design on a one-to-one scale. I hit issues with the other builds, particularly with the guitar head, where I went with the design and then tried to fit in the machines and the strings, etc. afterwards, and it didn't come off as cleanly as I would have hoped. So I set about this with a one-to-one design, front and back, and so when I started it I knew exactly what was going where and where I needed to put it. Hollowing out the body was a long, painful process, and went through a lot of router bits in the process, and I've learned that I probably wouldn't take that approach next time. I would use different woods and probably use planks rather than use a whole solid body. I'll still end up with the same similar thickness. I think it does help with the resonance and sort of sound of the guitar, even though it does make it slightly heavier than a typical acoustic. I used pine for the solid body, and probably in my naivety and inexperience set about routing out the solid body. I was keen to have the ribs and sort of supporting ribs as part of the main body and not added afterwards, as you can see from the design. But I did get through a lot of routing bits to get to the bottom. As you can see, there was a lot of wood to remove. Due to the soft wood and not being able to get a decent finish on it, I unfortunately had to use 3mm plywood just to line the outside to give it flat edges for the veneer. The neck was made out of ebony and stuck to the design and shape and size, etc. that was from the plan. Fretboard itself is mahogany, and started inlaying the yellow acrylic as part of the design. you can see the blue acrylic that I used to mark the 5th and the 12th fret. The final fretboard was oiled, and I used brass fret wire, again just to keep with a yellow metal with it consistent with the rest of the design, and not use a white metal that would have looked out of place. I used acrylic shapes taken directly from the design and laid them on top of the guitar head, and to follow out the pattern, the Art Deco design that I'd come up with. The back of the head was a single strip of yellow acrylic throughout the head, and then the full length of the neck as well, just to try and incorporate the two together. And the final, I'm delighted with the final result. It is looks lovely and is very striking. The top was made out of 10mm elm, 2 pieces which I primed and mirrored, and you can see I cut out the shape. Also the blue tape off area was routed out, 5mm was routed out, so that there would be a distinct difference between the two components, and that the single diamond shape that went on to be sprayed with a lacquer, black lacquer paint, would again stand out and be also provide structural integrity to the top. I used gold acrylic paint and stencil to ensure that the pattern was again consistent with the design that I'd already played out. I'd already decided that the neck would be attached to the top, again just to provide strength and integrity, as the main body was pine, and I wasn't assured of that with its softness that it would be able to keep the neck steady under the tension of the strings. The control box for the electronics, monitoring the piezo and humbucker pickup. The control box for that managed the piezo and humbucker pickup came in a box that was shaped for a typical acoustic guitar with sort of rounded sides. That clearly wasn't going to fit in with my design, so I had to strip it out using a piece of the cut off elm, and created my own sort of template that would be able to sit in the side and sort of be buried part of the guitar, and that has worked again excellently. This is a completed guitar. I'm delighted with how the vision that I had for the guitar has actually followed through. I took it very slowly and steadily. I have never done anything this sort of dramatic before, and sort of pondered on every stage to make sure that things would turn out as they ought to, and I'm just really chuffed that it has worked as well as I'd hoped. There are things that I've learnt from it, and things I would do differently if I built this again, but I'm absolutely delighted with how it's turned out, and ultimately how it sounds. Hi there. In conclusion, this year's build has been a big challenge for me, and I did set myself an ambitious target with the build, but I am delighted and relieved that my ambitions were fulfilled so successfully. It looks great, it sounds great, and I think he's just gonna empower me to carry on thinking differently and planning new builds that are going to be just as striking as this year's entry. I thank you very much for watching this video, and I appreciate your viewing it and any support that you gave me. I'd also like to thank Crimson Guitar and the Great Guitar Build-Off competition for incentivising me to push the boundaries of my capabilities and ambitions, but also as an acknowledgement of my efforts with the spot prize that I won quite recently. It's very much appreciated, and recognition and acknowledgement by people more expert and better at guitar building than me is very touching and humbling. It's very much appreciated. So goodbye, and I'll keep you updated via Instagram about any future builds. Take care. Thanks a lot.